What's the day? It's July 18th. Mornings in the lab. Keith Bilous, C. Marty Fit. Joining me today, Gareth Riordan from the Gold Coast of us. Down under. Yeah, over there. Today's going to be a very international show. We got no Marty today, nation. I'm sorry that I got no Marty today. Yeah, Marty's stuck at the airport. As we all know, Marty was here in Winnipeg with me the last couple of days with the OGG, having some great business athlete performance lab discussions, meetings, building out the business for the future. And Marty, I'm just gonna shuffle my camera around so y'all can see me better. I know you want to see me this morning. Dude, I got to tell you, I almost slept in today. Don't tell Marty. So alarm goes off normally 4 o'clock every morning, nation. It's the old 4 o'clock, boop, 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 boop. Apparently I hit the snooze. Man, twice, 2 days in a row. Apparently I hit the snooze. And then apparently I slept to the snooze a few times. 5:37, eyes wake up. Boom. Oh my goodness. I thought it was Saturday. I thought I slept for the show. But I didn't. So I frantically jumped out of bed, ran over to the shower, fed the dogs. Dogs usually wake me up. I'm like, dude, you guys slept in too. So, but we made it in. Grabbed some coffee on that third cup of coffee this morning. So I do 3 every day. What do you do? I do 3. I start my day with bang, bang, read the morning news. What the hell is morning news in 2024? And then get the third cup to kick the day off. Here in the lab, we're here to talk today about achieving goals alone, and we're here to talk today about cutting sugar out of your diet using AI. So, Jimmy, making sure we send out that Substack, get it out there, my friend. Let's rock and roll. Inviting all my listeners over here on Threads, inviting everybody over on Substack, YouTube, X, who else all joining here this morning. Exceptional. And of course, we have our friend from the future. What's up, Enzo? Good to see you, my friend. And I know that you are unable to hang out with us today, which is okay. I thought I was actually going to have an all Southern Hemisphere show today. I figured. So why are we starting this morning show in North America when all my guests are over in the other side of the world? It's like, there's something kind of all wrong with this today. But good morning, Enzo. I appreciate you jumping in. I say hello to Grandpa for me. What's shaking, grandfather? How old's Grandpa? How are you today? I'm glad to hear you're hanging out with him. And yes, exactly, Enzo. Almost. So good to have you here this morning. Like I said, we're going to jump into a couple topics today. Achieving goals alone. Ironically enough, I'm here by myself today. And we're going to dig into cutting sugar out of your diet with AI. Let's go through, as we normally do in the morning, we jump into views from the lab. And I thought I would take a few moments this morning to reflect upon the last couple of days in my world. Here in the lab, working with OGG and Marty, working on the lab. And yesterday I had a day, nation. Oh, did I ever have a day? Let me talk about it. And I made a post on my raw and cut post. Drops every day around 5 o'clock Eastern time. It's supposed to be 10 hours later, but some days I'm like, oh my God, 10 hours already happened since the end of the show and I haven't got here yet. Yeah, true story. Yesterday I made a post. Oh, being an entrepreneur. I think Gareth's going to be able to relate to this when I walk him in here in a few moments. But yesterday was a day about being an entrepreneur, solopreneur, with Shake and Justin Wells, entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever you want to call it. But yesterday was a day, man. It's our third day with Marty and OGG in the lab. Exceptional show, biggest show yesterday morning in the lab. Sorry, Brooks Swadar. I'm sorry. We had a great conversation yesterday. And best show, highest viewers. David Sowers joins us from Royal Restrooms. And show ends. Great meetings following the show. Great discussions with OGG and Marty. Feeling the entrepreneur high. You know how it feels, entrepreneur. You know it. You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Solopreneur, Mrs. Solopreneur. I guess most of the guys listening to the show here. So sorry, ladies. Hey, what's shaking, Vanessa? If you're tuning in this morning, good morning. Thanks for coming in here today. The old accountability show here. We wake up every single day to help you hit your goals. But yesterday, I don't know, I had a meeting scheduled with a customer that we have. And the customer said, Keith? I was like, yeah. They said, we're going in a different direction. I was like, oh. And the customer went that direction. And the customer said, hey, you need to go in that direction. It's like, oh. Good morning, Lotus Flower. You got Keith Independent here this morning. Marty's stuck in an airplane, so I'm glad you're hanging out with me this morning. I should send you the call-in details. You can take over for Marty this morning, Lotus Flower. But anyways, I get the old from our client, and the client's like, yes, we are going in a different direction, and we'd like you to go that direction. So I went from the solopreneur, entrepreneur, high, heavy, and exceptional day to a day that was somewhat, so that's how it's going to work. And I know as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, as an accountable human tuning into the show, you have your days like I had yesterday. But as I sat down and I made that video, I said to myself, I could either be fake, I can either pretend that every single day in the lab is perfect, or I could give truth to Business Athlete Nation. I could give truth. I can present truth, and I can say that, hey, every single day is not perfect. I know that my job, I get paid to help you guys. Wait a minute. Did I say I get paid? Still waiting for the paycheck. I get paid to help you get out of bed every single day. I get paid to help you get your goals in check. I get paid to help you move forward every day. I get paid to help you hit your big, hairy, audacious goals. And I get paid to bring the positivity to the platform. I get paid to be the conduit of conversation. I get paid to help you guys moving forward. So as I'm sitting here yesterday lamenting the content I was going to create for all of you, and you, and you, and you, and you, I was saying to myself, do I give them real or do I give them fake? Do I give them the pretend rainbows and unicorn life of of an entrepreneur that everything's great? You've seen the posts on X. You've seen the posts on LinkedIn. You've seen the posts on Threads or Substack about the solopreneur making gazillions of dollars every single day of his week. The solopreneur making gazillions of dollars by just sending out texts and creating content, and we're all like, "Oh my God, I'm getting this FOMO, fear of missing out, because I'm not doing the same things as that person over there." I can assure you, from somebody who's hit a home run, from somebody who's hit a grand slam, dude, every day is not going to be exceptional. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. 4 steps forward, 5 steps back. That's the life of a solopreneur. That's the life of an entrepreneur. So I can relate to you guys. I can relate to you, nation. I can relate to you that if you're sitting here listening to the show right now, and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm having a shoddy day. I didn't say the SHITT word. Nope. I got Marty here. I don't got Marty here keep an eye on things. But I know that if you're sitting here asking yourself, oh man, am I supposed to I'm an entrepreneur? You're saying, I'm a solopreneur. You're saying to yourself, should I be having great days every single day of the week? How come I'm not having 30 days a month of great days? I see all these people out on these platforms, and they're all like, oh, why aren't they having bad days? Yes, Lotus Flower, safe travels from Marty. Agree with that. And you're all like, so when I sat down yesterday and made my video, for all of you, raw, uncut, drop it every single day, 6 o'clock Eastern time over on LinkedIn. I'm going to drop it on Substack and Threads coming up. But when I made the post, I said to myself, yes, be honest, be real, give nation real. I'll give you more real. I'll give you more vulnerability. You want to hear more vulnerability right now? Do you want to hear me tell you something that happened yesterday? I had tears. I cried. Not crying because I was sad. No, I sat with my daughter yesterday, and she said, Keithy, she's my bonus daughter, Brookie. I'm her bonus dad. I'm Keithy. She says, Keithy, why do you have tears? Why are you crying? And I said, you know, Brooks, I said, some days as an entrepreneur, they're tough. And you have all this emotion inside of you. And you ask yourself, how do you get it out? Where do you put it? Where do you place it? Do you place it in front of your community so they can see the real you? Do you hide it inside and not share it with the nation? Do you sit in a corner and ask yourself, what the hell am I doing right now? Do you take that head of yours on those two broad athletic shoulders and bang it against the wall nonstop, going, I gotta go, 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 and not revealing the struggles inside? So I let the emotion out. I let tears run down my face. I just expressed myself like I am right now. Because that's the real life of an entrepreneur, nation. That's the real life of building a business. Yeah, the results are fun. Yeah, the results can do many wonderful things for you and your family. But nobody talks about the days that they don't go great. We don't see people talking on Threads, X, Substack, LinkedIn about those moments where they want to cry, but they don't want to show them true selves. So they become fake. So nation, I invite you today. If you're having struggles throughout your day, share them. Share them with me. Share them with your team. Share them with your colleagues. Share them with your daughter. Share them with your son. Share them with your bonus daughter, your bonus son. Share them with your partner. But don't hide. Don't hide behind the mask of what you think. Don't hide behind the mask of what you think people want you to be or what you think people want to see. Give them reality. Right, Will Ray? What's shaking, Will? I know you're there. I know you're there like me, brother. I know you're there every single day getting up, taking care of your boys. I know you're there every single day struggling. I know you are. I know many of you are out there listening to this show right now. And you're saying to yourselves, oh man, should I pretend? No. As Lotus Flower says, show us the transparency. And I agree, Lotus, that being honest for social media has people falsely believing everything is sunshine and flowers. And I can assure you, I'm a 52-year-old man. Yeah, I'm ancient. Oh, just reveal the truth. We all have those battles. We have those struggles. We have that emotion. Life has thunderstorms. Life has rain, as Lotus puts it. But you know what? Underneath that thunderstorm and those rains, as Lotus so puts it so well, and I appreciate you joining me here this morning, Lotus. Underneath the sun, underneath the shine, underneath all that stormy weather is that sun, is those stars. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, like my guest coming up, Gareth Riordan, they got the Southern Cross. I'm like, where's the Northern Lights? They're like, no, they don't exist here. So as I wrap up my little monologue this morning on being the life of an entrepreneur and that solopreneur and that whole life of, man, it's not always easy. You got to get up and go. And as Enzo, my good friend from the future, hanging out with his 87-year young, sorry, Enzo, grandpa, we know it. This is how you talk about this subject. You bring it real. And you know what, my friend? You know what, Enzo? And Gareth, preparing you, my friend, going to walk you in here in just a quick second. This message is why I get it every single bit. Because I feel that if I can be real for all of you, and you, it's what gets you going every single day. Sharing my story, sharing my transparency. And you know what, Enzo? That's right. It's the one thing you have over the Aussies. You have the Southern Lights. So, nation, I appreciate you listening to my little rant this morning, my little monologue, my little sense of vulnerability. I invite you to be vulnerable today. Be vulnerable with your own self. Pat yourself on the back and get up look forward, and poly forward. All right, so there we go. There's Keith Little. Get her, get at her. I'm going to welcome in my good friend Gareth. So I got to tell y'all how Gareth shows up here this morning. Gareth joins me from just down over there, just down the road, down the ocean. You know, you gotta get in an airplane, get in a boat, and just travel down the ocean, and you end up in the Gold Coast. Not the Gold Coast of British Columbia. No, that's over there. The Gold Coast of Southern Australia. So yesterday, as I was planning today's show, we had a guest lined up to join our conversation about cutting sugar out of your diet. And last minute scheduling change. I was like, oh, I can't make it. I was like, all right, I'll do the show with Marty. And then I get a call from Marty last night going, Keith, I'm stuck in Toronto at the airport and I'm not going to be on the show. I'm like, okay. While that was happening, I'm texting my old friend Gareth. And he's like, sure, I'll join. So at this point in the show, Jimmy, because I've thrown the whole script off the window, Jimmy. We're going to welcome our friend Gareth from Friday into the lab. What's shaking, Gareth?
Morning, Keith.
How are you
going?
Man? Yes! I got to bring the sound effects, even though I got Martin out here in the lab. How are you, friend? Hey, listen, man, I'm so grateful, so appreciative to have you in the lab here with me this morning. How are you today? You know, you were here a couple weeks ago, and I knew that when we had this topic on the agenda and I had somebody not able to show up, I figured you'd be a great person to continue the dialogue with me today. So what's shaking, pal? What'd you think of my comments about being a solopreneur and entrepreneur? And I know you are one. I know you bust your rear end every single day building your business, and you've had success through your life of being a business person. Let's just dig into some of my comments, Gareth, as I was talking there. Do you relate to some of those moments when we don't want to share them, but we feel like we have to share them? And, you know, you're like, I got to be strong. I got to be Superman. I can't show people what's really going on inside of me. And then you crack. Gareth.
Yeah, I think that's awesome that you just talked through that, Keith, because I was actually drawing as you were talking about, because that it's amazing the way things work. That was my day yesterday. Didn't have the customers going in the different directions, but everything was just, all the tech stuff in the business just didn't seem to work. And you lurch from one disaster to another disaster over the course of the day. But then what I really liked is you saying that you take the 3 steps forward, you take 2 steps back, but you do take 1 step forward.
Yes.
But it's so important to just be honest about that. You know, I think you're right. Like I see all the messages and I'm like, oh, we're not going fast enough. We're not being as successful because look what everyone else is doing. But I'm really lucky. I've got two co-founders that we keep each other real, and we share the pain, we share the losses, we share what you don't see is the 2 successes is the 17 rejections that you've had to get to those 2 successes. It's how we look at it.
Isn't that true? And you know what? We spend so much time on these platforms, right? And these social media platforms, Gareth, and everything we say is or see is good, right? And it creates this it creates, I think, so much FOMO for so many of us, because all we're seeing is, oh, Garrett's hitting home runs every single day. You wake up, it's a Monday, hit a home run. And then we as humans lose track of time. We tune into Gareth again on Wednesdays, hit another home run. And then we lose track of time. We see Gareth the following week on X or Substack or with Threads, and he's hit another home run. Or at least that's our perception. Yet a month or 6 weeks have gone by and you're like, oh, shoot, Keith, no. We've actually struck out 300 times in between those home runs that you've seen. And we as humans don't pay attention to the strikeouts, and we beat ourselves up that I'm like, oh my God, I'm way behind Gareth. I'm way behind Gareth. I'm way behind Gareth. I'm way behind Gareth. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. It beats us up, Gareth. It beats us up, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah, I find that even the same with being a parent, early days and being a parent.
Oh.
It was such hard work, but I saw the Instagram stories, the Instagram life. I'm like, what are we doing that's not right? There's people going on holidays with their kids and they've got these amazing photos. I'm like, I'm barely getting through the next 4 days without some sort of meltdown or some sort of sickness in the household. So, but then you actually talk to them and go, looks like things are going great. And we were always, it's tough. We were really clear with them, and we'd say, we're finding it really hard. The instant you say that, the walls came down. They're like, yeah, same for us. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It was really hard. I thought you had it nailed. Like you had these amazing kids sleeping through the night, eating the food, going on holidays, and they're like, no, what you're experiencing is what we're experiencing. So and I think it's really important that people do just cut through and give the real talk, because it's just creating these realistic expectations. Like I was writing there, and the life of the entrepreneur, you see them out on boats and parties and whining and dining, and I'm like, I'm smashing a kale and a bean salad in between the 6 minutes I've got between two meetings to make sure I can get some food in before I have my next client meeting. There's no whining and dining happening there. It's just getting nutrition in when I can.
Well, you know what, Gareth? I believe I have the ability and perhaps maybe the responsibility to speak to this, because I have been the entrepreneur that was crushing the food in between meetings, that was crushing the late hours, crushing all those things behind the scenes to hit the success years ago with my previous business. I was also the entrepreneur out there celebrating, the travel adventures and sharing everything I'm doing with the world. And I was as equally the human creating FOMO for those around me, because during the time, like, oh yeah, share, 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 share. So I've been on both sides of the fence. I know what it's like to be the one grinding. I know what it's like to be the one oversharing, making everybody else have that FOMO. And I reflect upon that, and I'm like, oh man, that's why I feel like it's my responsibility as much as anything to share what goes on behind the scenes on your journey to building again. But the balance, Gareth, is that people tune into me, people tune into you, and people tune into me and see Marty to not hear the behind the scenes stuff. Like, I don't want to hear Keith's rambling. I don't want to hear Keith crying with his bonus audio. I just want to hear all the good stuff, which is fine, nation. But we can't have sunny days without thunderstorms, right? I can't have love without some dislike. Gareth, you can't have love with your wife and you can't have a disagreement along the way. They can't, life just can't be, honey, we can't be loving all the time. We got to have a disagreement. But we don't talk about the disagreements.
But the good thing is, Enzo's reminded me that the week was good because on Wednesday, New South Wales beat Queensland in the Origin. So up the Blues. Love it, Enzo. Thanks for helping remind me of the positive vibes. Glad you're following the league. So that's huge. That's like New South Wales, Queensland, two biggest states in Australia, obsessed with rugby league. There's 3 games each year, and New South Wales won the decider. Drew 1-1. I don't think New South Wales has won a series in Queensland in more than a decade. So that was huge.
That's exceptional.
Huge.
That's really good for you. That's really cool. That's really cool. And you know what I love about sport? Brings people together, right? And it allows us to. So, but that's also, man, Garrett, that's a topic for another day. Sport's supposed to be a place for us to release and have fun. Yet I find so much of the sporting topics in today's discussions just move us into everything else, drama behind the scenes of sports. It's like, no, I just want to go to a game and enjoy the game and have some entertainment and let that go, right? So, sports is an interesting topic. But Gareth, as we continue our dialogue here today, I want to share with you. We have a couple polls that we run here in the lab, Gareth. And yesterday we ran a poll. Yesterday's poll was what's your biggest business fear? We talked yesterday in the lab about the fear of failure, Gareth. This fear of what do you do and how do you react about if you're starting a business, what's the biggest business fear? And we posed 4 questions to Nation, which was when you're starting a business, Gareth, is your biggest fear losing initial investment? Is your biggest fear that your lack of experience is going to come out and people are going to notice? Is the biggest fear the fear of judgment? Oh my God, I don't like how Gareth's doing his job. Or is the biggest fear the pressure that follows success? I spoke with David Sowers yesterday. He runs an incredible business here in North America. And he spoke about, Gareth, this idea of, when you get successful or when you become successful, all the friends you had along the way, you don't have them anymore because they don't understand that, oh, I see Gareth can take his family to North America. Oh, I see Gareth can go and travel around the world on a boat. Oh, I see Gareth can go and spend a number of hours doing things that I can't do because I got to work. So it's that whole idea of, oh my God, I'm chasing success. Now that I have it, all my friends are gone. Right. So the question we posed was, what's the biggest fear? And Gareth, their answer was led by 50% of the response was lack of experience, which makes me wonder the problems of imposter syndrome that exists amongst many of us.
Yeah. And that resonates massively. And is it getting worse because you see about how good everyone else is, and you're like, am I ever going to be good enough?
Yes. Do you struggle with imposter syndrome sometimes, Gareth? I do. I will tell you that I do.
Yeah, all the time. Even in sport, like I still remember when I was really competing a lot in cycling, and I was doing pretty well.
Yes.
Like pretty well, and I'd still turn up, lining up at the front of the race, ready to roll out, and I just look around and say, what am I doing here? Everyone else here is going to smoke me.
It's
Still have
incredible.
that every time.
I want to dig into that in a moment because that's incredible to me because Gareth, you know as well as I do, there's no logic in that emotion, yet you show up and it just eats you up. Good morning, Jose Pereira. Oh man, Jose, I appreciate you jumping in this morning. Gareth, Jose, American business leader, kidnapped, held hostage in Ecuador for 5 years. Dude, was on my show live in the lab a couple months back. Exceptional human being. So I think you're an exceptional human, Gareth, but not a but. You meet Jose, you're like, oh, whole other level. Like to be locked up for 5 years as a prisoner, as a government prisoner, like as a hostage, and not connecting with your wife, your family, and so forth. I can't imagine. I can't imagine what that experience is like. And I know that I know I'm freezing up here. So Jose, I appreciate you jumping into the show this morning. I know that we are working on doing some additional conversation with you and your lovely wife, and I'm eager to have that dialogue with you. So watch for an email coming to me over to you in the next day or so. But Jose, I'm really appreciative you jumping in to join us on the show today. But Gareth, what you talk about being alone and achieving goals or imposter syndrome. I can't imagine some of the thoughts that went through Jose's mind along the way. But Gareth, we were talking about imposter syndrome and this whole idea that we beat ourselves up, whether we're going at it alone, whether we're going at it in situations. And today we have a poll, Gareth, which is, you're a successful entrepreneur, you're a successful business athlete. What's your go-to strategy for achieving big goals? Is it self-motivation and discipline? Is it collaborating with others? Is it using mentors and coaches? Or is it this idea of flexible goal setting where you're like, okay, I got a goal and I'm going to pull the levers along the way to get there? So Gareth, when you sit back and try to achieve big goals, because I know you are absolutely, since I've met you and done some little my old LinkedIn research on you, you're a driver, dude. You're a goal getter. What's your go-to strategy, Gareth?
100% number 4. And even the way that you described it, there's the big goal. And then what are the things that I do along the way that I know if I do these little things, the big one happens.
Yes.
And I learned that actually back when I was racing. I worked with a really good coach for a while, like a really, really good cycling triathlon coach, but he was focusing on my cycling. And he always used to say to me before a race, your end goal is to, rank highly and win numerous races. But when you turn up to a race, what are the little things that you're going to try and achieve in that race? Things like feeding during the race, keeping your cadence up, because those little things then contribute. And he helped me change my mindset, because my view is, I turn up this race, my goal is to win it. And that was so much out of my control. Like it was, well, all these things can happen, but if I can focus on these little things, and now I apply that in my work context and with the current business, is we've got a massively audacious goal for Friday.
Yes.
But what do we do in the next 3 weeks? What do we do in the next 3 months?
Yes.
That's the stuff that's going to get us on that journey.
Oh, I'm so appreciative of those comments, Gareth. I'll tell you something that I've adopted in my life, and it sounds like you're drinking the same Kool-Aid I am, and I don't even know if we know we're calling it the same thing. I don't believe in smart goals. I believe smart goals are rooted in a society, a structure, a work structure that doesn't necessarily exist or relate to 2024, or let's call it the modern day. To me, smart goals are rooted in the lunchbox era. Oh, I got to be at work at 8:00. I got to be in the factory floor. I got to build my boxes, build my cars. 8 hours later, I go home. Right. I write a measurable goal down. I work at it. I try to achieve it. Yada, yada, yada. But I feel like in a world that we live in now, Gareth, where there's so many things coming at us, The news cycle is every second. Social media, it's just a constant 24/7 cycle. But Gareth, I don't think balance exists anymore. And you said it yourself, you showed up at the race and you started pulling levers. Or you said to yourself, I have a big goal 3 weeks from now. Like in the world of SMART goals, you write them down. You're like, okay, I'm rigid on this thing here. But then in the world of SMART goals, when something gets in front of you, you're like, oh, how do I react to that? So I believe in flex goals. Your big audacious goal, I'm going to run a race. Like you said, I'm going to go ride a race. But along the way, you pull levers. You do more of this along the way. You do less of this along the way. Like you pull these levers to help you achieve that ultimate goal, because you know that you need that flexibility, Gareth, from the moment that you say to yourself or say to the world that I'm going after this goal to the moment you're off to achieve it. I think that you have to pull levers to get there. It's not just a matter of, there's not one approach, not one way. There's multiple levers along the way, but as long as you have your eyes set on the ultimate goal, you achieve it. Comments on that, Gareth?
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. It makes me think the goal sort of sets a direction.
Yes.
And then along the way, you got to dodge, duck, get punched in the face a few times.
Yes.
But then you're still directionally correct.
Yes.
And I think for me, what that's helped me do is that I learn so much more along the way. If it's rigid, it's like I'm not open to trying different stuff along the way or learning new things, because I've got to stick to this specific, like you said, smart, rigid approach. Whereas if it's like 3 years' time, we want to achieve X, and then we know that we're going to work stuff out along the way. Pull some levers, absorb some learning, and 18 months in, we're still in the same direction, but wow, we've actually learned heaps, and maybe the goal's a bit closer. Maybe we're going to get there faster because we've been able to adapt.
Yes. Well, and I think, Gareth, again, somebody like yourself, myself, I keep repeating myself, but I believe we're probably drinking much of the same Kool-Aid here. I believe, Gareth, that humans that get so rooted in SMART goals is why we don't achieve them. Because the moment that something changes along the way, how do I adapt? That's not the path that I wrote down for my SMART goal. And then what happens is that the failure starts to begin. And then it percolates and perpetuates itself. And the next thing you know, your goal is out the window because you haven't been taught to be flexible or maneuver. For example, yesterday, Gareth, I had a great day, but a crappy day. So I had to pull a lever. I had to pull an emotional lever yesterday, right? That in a world of SMART goals, I'm like, this obstacle's in the way. Now what do I do? Right. So I had to learn yesterday to, emotionally adjust with pulling some levers, do more of this, less of this. Like I had a whole list of things to do yesterday, Gareth. I didn't get them done because I had that emotional, situation that I had to go, okay, I need to pull more on me right now and less on this list over here so that I can show up here this morning with Gareth and Nation in the mood, in the attitude that I need to be. You follow me?
Yeah, that's awesome. You're still in the same direction, but you've pivoted in the moment to stay on that same track.
That's exactly right.
Super cool.
Right. And I think it's that old adage, Gareth, of the compass and the radar. Right. We use a radar to set us in a direction, and then we use the compass to keep us going in that same direction. Right. So it's not one tool, it's two tools. Right. So, and I like to pull the old flexible tools tool out of my toolbox. So we're talking this morning with Gareth Riordan from the Gold Coast, myself, Keith Bilous, Mornings in the Lab. And we're coming to the bottom of the first hour here. We're going to get into a conversation in 2 minutes regarding how to achieve your goals independently, solo goals. And then we're going to get into a conversation about how to use AI. We got an AI expert, Gareth Frye.ai, to use AI to cut sugar. I know a lot of us battle sugar, including me. And we're going to talk about how AI can help us get that out of the diet. But before we do that, Jimmy, before we do that, we got a segment of the show. And it's running later and later these days. But hey, it's flex goals, man. It's pulling levers. But we got a segment of the show where I'm going to pull Gareth off the screen. I'm going to put me on the screen. And I'm going to talk to all of you right now with my energy. Get your ass out of bed. That's it. I said it. Ass is donkey. If you got kids in the room, they're like, Mom, what's an ass? It's a donkey. That's what it is. Accountability matters. Damn, does ever accountability matter, but it's actually not enough to hit the big goals. Oh, no, it's not. I'm going to tell you something. First, you need to be self-driven. You need to be motivated. Do not look to me for motivation. If you're looking to me or Gareth for motivation, you need to go look in your own mirror first. You need to go look in your own mirror first. Motivation comes within. Use me, use Gareth, use C Marty Fit to help you move that motivation to an action. Because in my opinion, nobody can give you motivation. Because if you don't have it, you're not clear on the big why. Here's why self-motivation is key. It makes you solution-oriented. It ensures that sustained focus. You show up consistently, you're more adaptable. So you find the inner fire to move forward. And then, nation, then business athlete nation, what I encourage you to think about is using that inner fire to use accountability to stay on track, achieve those not little, not big, but those big audacious goals. So as you start your day today and you're looking at your list, maybe your smart list, I invite you to adjust it. I invite you to consider making it a flexible list that's solution oriented. It creates sustained focus, allowing you to show up consistently, making you more adaptable. And then, like I said, use that accountability to stay on track and help you get to the finish line. That's our daily accountability check-in. Jimmy, producer Jimmy, we're moving on to the first segment. Bring up Gareth back on the screen here. Lotus Flower, yes. Accountability also applies to health and fitness. Everyone wants to live the lifestyle of a successful entrepreneur, but no one, oh, you are right, Lotus. No one wants to put the work in to get those results. People want a quick and easy fix, and that's the problem with the TikTok era. And I'm not gonna date myself more than I already am. But that's the problem, is that we all want something done in 15 seconds, 12 seconds, 15 seconds. And what we aspire to do here, Gareth, is to teach people the long run, the sustainable success, the idea of putting in 100 days, 200 days, 300 days of showing up, and let that magic happen. So, accountability check-in, but now we are here to get into first topic of the day. Gareth Riordan joining us from the Gold Coast. You ever wonder if you really need anyone else? And Gareth, I got a question for you as you started Friday. Do you ever wonder, and have you ever wondered if you ever really need anyone else to hit those big goals? I know marathon runners, triathletes, cyclists, generally an independent sport. Today, we're going to break down how we crush those big audacious goals independently. Gareth, as a cyclist, let's start with you. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Where do you start with? Intrinsic or extrinsic for you yourself?
Intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
And then when I'm deep into like a training block, or then I need to find some extrinsic to keep, it's like the little kick to keep me going.
Yes.
But it has to start inside, because that, for me, I look at that as that's like the big chunky fire that's burning, and then throw in a little bit piece of extrinsic motivation there as I'm further along, when the fire isn't burning as brightly, it just reignites it again. But yeah, I have to have that. If I don't have that,
have you always been an intrinsically motivated human, or like as a young boy growing up, were you always, self-driven that you had to do something, Gareth, or was it something that you learned along the way?
I think I probably had a drive when I was young, but it's something I probably learnt more about as I've got older.
Yeah.
And you weather the storm, you have the experiences. And I think maybe what it is that when I had that motivation, and I love what you said about the long-term slog for the reward feels so much more significant. And I think growing up, knowing when I had a bit of motivation, I plugged away at something, and then the reward came at the end, I loved how that felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really set me up to know that if I put the hard yards in, I think Lotus Flower had that great comment, it's that the quick the quick sugar hit to
Mm-hmm.
do a nod for what we're going to talk about later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It burns brightly, but then it disappears. And then you're left feeling super flat. But if you have that long slog, a lot of that intrinsic motivation, you get the reward at the end. It's so much rewarding. And that's what then I use for the next cycle to keep me going again.
Are you a fan of visualization, Gareth? So as you're on your progress, your process, your journey to achieve your goal, do you use visualization as an independent to continue driving that extrinsic motivation, seeing yourself achieve the rewards along the way, seeing yourself pull the levers along the way? Do you use that visualization, Gareth, as a tool for yourself?
I use visualization a lot in racing, especially for, like, I really try and use it for real priority
Yes.
things, because I try and really invest, because I want it to be really meaningful.
Yes.
Because I find to do it right, it takes actually a lot of effort. So when I'm visualizing success, it's usually in a racing context, and I'm thinking about a goal race leading up to it. I'm thinking through all the stages, but it's not just the visualization of, yes, crossing the finish line and I'm winning, but I'm imagining it's going to sound a bit weird, a bit masochist, but I envisage the pain that I'll go through in the race.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, and I recognize it's going to have to hurt to
Mm-hmm.
get the win. So when I get into the conversation, or not in the conversation, when I get into the actual experience, I'm prepared for it. It isn't just, it's going to be glorious, I'm going to cross the finish line, arms up in the air, it's going to be all glory, versus there's going to be a chunk of time where I'm going to really have to push myself, and I can see what that's going to be like, and I know what it's going to be like if I get through it.
That is a revelation. And that is a vulnerable statement you make. So what you're saying to me, Gareth, is during your visualization process, you're acknowledging your failure. I'm going to use the word, so that you can create your own feedback loop along the way, so that when you are in that moment of difficulty or despair or a negative direction, you're already aware of it. That's what you're telling me, right? Because you know that your journey from A to Z is not going to be a continual up on your solo journey as an athlete. So you're like, okay, I know during this journey, I'm going to have a bad day. So what you're telling me is that you're acknowledging that in advance, so that when it happens, you're prepared for that. That's powerful stuff, Gareth.
Yeah, 100%. And thanks for that. That's great to hear if it's useful, because it makes such a difference. Because you're right, it's not all going to go right, but it takes some of those tougher
Yes.
moments to get through.
Yes.
And if I can prepare for it, if we know, and even from a business sense, we know that as three of us got together, like three co-founders, we had a great straight couple of days together, similar to you and See Marty Fit. We came together, we talked about the business, and we really talked about, we know the next couple of months in particular, it's going to be intense for us. There'll be some highs, but we're going into it with eyes wide open that in particular this next quarter for us is going to be super hardcore, and we know it's going to be intense. But we know if we get through it, it's going to set us up for 6 months after that as well.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to hear you say that, because in business, Gareth, I've learned a technique, and I'll share with you and share with Business Athlete Nation right now. I've learned a technique with business where I work with my team, or even with my own head, and I visualize what time will be like at a certain time of the year. For example, I will spend a day thinking that it's already December right now. So it's December 18th, 2024. It's not July right now. And I'm using language where, yeah, that meeting I had with Gareth back in July, we talked about this, And I'm using language to put myself in the moment of December, so I can then reflect upon what I have achieved or what I have had problems with. But what I find with that mindset, Gareth, it allows me to visualize what I've achieved along the way. And where I have found I've made errors is what happened yesterday, is that often when I do these exercises with my team or with myself, going, okay, let's pretend that it's 1 year from now. What have we achieved? And let's move backwards from that. I've always focused on the positives. And yesterday was a good reminder for me to remind myself that between now and December, Gareth, there's going to be some valleys in my journey. There's going to be some days like yesterday between now and the end of December. And it's very easy for me to focus on all the good days that are going to happen between now and the end of December. But you've reminded me that, no, Keith, there's going to be some days along the way of an entrepreneurial journey, or on the way of that journey of an athlete, that are going to suck. And having that mental awareness to prepare for those moments is only going to help you get to the next peak of your valley on that next day.
Yeah.
You know, so I like thinking in the future, but and I like to visualize. But again, I will, having you communicate how you use it reminds me that, you got to think about the valleys along the way, not just the peaks. Because I'm sure even with your founders, y'all were talking about the goals. We don't spend as much time talking about, well, but Gareth, what happens if we miss them? Oh, no, we're not going to. No, we can't talk about that because we're going to hit them. Right? It's like when you're training as an athlete, you're like, well, no, but I'm going to hit this time check. I'm going to hit this mark. No, but Gareth, but if you don't, what are you going to do? How are you going to adjust? Right. I need to think about that. I need to think about the adjustment.
Yeah, I think the word that most connects with me is the prepare. Like, you can't prepare if you haven't thought about it. I think about, I've got a goal race in October. I've laid out this perfect plan, with AI. It's helped me prepare for it, but I've even factored in now. I've told it that I'm probably going to get sick once or twice. I've got young kids, germ factories, guaranteed. They're going to be, they love me so much, they share their germs with me. I'm going to get sick over the next couple of months. So that perfect training plan, I know that if I get 80% of it, fantastic. I won't necessarily get 100. So that when I get to those moments of being sick, I'm like, okay, I knew I was going to get sick. I've got that, as you said before, that flexibility built into the plan. But if it was all like, yeah, perfect plan, by October I've ticked every single box in my training plan. When I do get sick, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I'm missing training. I'm not getting my sessions done. My plan said I had to do everything perfectly. It's all crumbling because I wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And we're talking right now going solo, achieving your goals independently, whether as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, triathlete, marathon runner, just those sports, those businesses, these goals we try to go at it alone. And can we? And we're talking about the tactic techniques and Gareth, Lotus Flower jumps in and says, that's great advice, Gareth, to think of those challenges that go along with the successes. Right. And I love that and what a great dude, you always drop your nuggets on the show. There's a reason why you're now a friend of the lab, because you're just it's like yeah, you're from the Gold Coast. You just drop these nuggets, just constantly dropping nuggets from the sky. But the fact that you have the awareness to say, okay, I got a training plan AI, I got to build this out AI over the next whatever 100 days, but I have kids and I know that I'm going to get sick along the way. To have that awareness and put it into the training plan. Because here's the thing, right, Gareth? If you don't get sick along the way, it's like bonus time, right? It's like, oh, I don't got to pull this lever now. I'm now further ahead of my plan because I never got sick. But the fact that you were prepared for it, great leadership, plan A, plan B, plan C, right? Love that whole idea. And that just feeds back, Gareth, to flex goals, right? You're thinking to yourself, I need to achieve this goal. I need flexibility into it. There might be a time along the way that I'm going to get sick. So how am I going to adjust? Love that. Gareth, what about the contrarian side of things? What are you doing going at it alone, Gareth? You need to have a team around you. You need to have a bunch of people helping you achieve those goals. Nobody achieves big, hairy, audacious goals independently. You always need to have somebody around you. Do we really need, Gareth, to go at things alone? And I love asking the question to you because you are an athlete who goes after things in an independent sport. Right? Do we really need to go at it alone? Or would you say to me, no, Keith, but I'm actually not alone because behind the scenes, I have this team around me that helps me achieve my goals, but we just don't often talk about it. Talk about that, Gareth.
Definitely the latter. I think, and even, I follow a lot of cyclists, endurance athletes, the best in the world. Like I'm watching the Tour de France at the moment. When Pogacar, Vingegaard are winning stages, the first thing they say, they've individually won the stage. First thing they say is, gee, the team did a great. I couldn't have got there without the team. And the team didn't cross the line. It was one rider that crossed the line. But it's that team around them. And I think endurance athletes in particular, and it's the term team, like, because I grew up playing traditional team sports,
Mhm,
rugby
mhm,
union. So you're used to being in a team.
mhm.
You go to the grand final together. You win as a team. So that the word team is just, it feels different in like a
Yes.
solo sport or even business, because it's more. I kind of think of it like a support network, and if you have a fantastic support network, they support you. And I'm so amazing. Like my wife would probably just roll her eyes at me if I said, "You're part of Team Gareth." She would like pull your head in. There's no Team Gareth. But if
I
I
can
said, "Oh,
relate.
I love the fact that you're part of my support network and I'm part of her support network," in terms of what she wants to achieve,
Yes.
very, very different construct. And I think you need that support network in any shape or form. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be people around you all the time. It's a network, like your accountability check-ins as an example. That
Hmm.
does that form part of a support network to help you get to where you are? Absolutely. It's how you might define it as an individual. What's the network you pull around you to be successful in what you want to achieve?
Mhm. But there certainly is a balance, isn't there, Gareth? Because you've chosen, because we as humans make choices whether we want to go into a team environment where we're surrounded by everybody helping us make decisions, making us move things forward, or we find ourselves making decisions where I or Gareth using yourself are like, no, I want to ultimately have the the control of the situation, but surround myself with this team. And it's really about finding that right balance, isn't it,
Mm,
Gareth? Right? Which is involving people to help you achieve your goals, but you're doing the cycling
mm.
initiative yourself because no, I need to have the ultimate control at the end. Let's just talk about that part of it. As an athlete or as an entrepreneur, there is that the C word, that control part of it, isn't there, Gareth? I want to control my outcome. You lean on your team to get you to 98%, but at the end of the day, you want to look in your own mirror, at your own self to pull that final lever, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's the
Yeah.
balance there between the team and yourself to achieve that final goal? You got to find the balance.
Yeah. And I think that's where the word that comes up for me is accountability. Like, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
that final lever's on you. And if you don't get there and you haven't pulled that, you haven't held yourself accountable to
Mhm.
doing the 2% or whatever it is, um, that's on you as the individual. Um, and you need to front up to that as well. Like, there's nothing that frustrates me more than when you could tell someone's like is blaming on everything else around them.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like, okay, well, what accountability do you take in that? Because then when you're in that next situation, it's easier to lean on, well, all the circumstances weren't right and the wind wasn't perfect and person over here didn't quite do that well, but what was in your control? What were you ultimately accountable for? And how do you own that part of it?
I love that you said that because I believe it's often a question many of us don't want to ask. We always want to find answers elsewhere, not often within our own mirror. And that to me is really, to your point, that's the power of accountability. When you can find the strength to go look in your own mirror and recognize that, I will make a few tweaks to my lifestyle so I can achieve it's not Gareth's fault. It's not my coach's
Mhm,
fault. It's actually me. Right. And that to
mhm.
me is when you can acknowledge that, that's when you're, I think, to that next level as a human, as an athlete, as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, is recognizing that I do need to have my team, but because I don't believe in the myth of self-made. Do you? The whole self-made thing?
Yeah, it's a weird phrase. Like,
It is,
it's
isn't it?
try and get someone to explain, what does that actually mean? Self-made. Even the English, those two words going together don't make sense.
I think of musicians often, Gareth, and Eminem is nothing without Dr. Dre, right? Like, so Eminem is independent, but Eminem is frankly nothing without Dr. Dre, right?
Mhm.
So Eminem's not, then Marshall Mathers is not self-made. So when we're talking about being self-made, there's always seems to be somebody next to or behind the scenes to help one get further ahead, right? So we're talking this morning with achieving goals solo, going after your goals solo, whether you're starting a business as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, Perhaps you're deciding to, I'm going to go become a marathon runner. I want to go become a cyclist. Yes, you're going at it alone. But as Gareth and myself are talking about right now, more than likely, you're going to surround yourself with that support network, that team. But then most importantly, it's finding that strength within your journey to reflect upon your own self in your own mirror and accepting responsibility for your own. Because if you want all the control at the end, you need to accept the responsibilities of the control along the way as well. Not offsetting it to, oh, well, Gareth gave me the wrong plan. He just told me what to do. I didn't hit my goals because Gareth trained me wrong. No, that doesn't work that way.
And I found that the best learnings I've ever had is when I've fronted up, been accountable.
Yes.
And it's forced me to look and go, okay, well, what am I going to take away next time? If I've pushed the accountability off to others, I'm losing an opportunity to learn. So how am I getting better?
Yes.
And I think some of losing grand finals, losing main big races, falling short, and just being so frustrated and not achieving. But then the next day, week, month of reflection, I'm like, can't wait to have another crack because I realize what I can do differently. Because I didn't quite get there, but I think if I do these two things or focus on this element, I wouldn't have had that experience. I wouldn't have that learning if it's like, well, the plan that was written for me wasn't good enough. So there's no personal reflection or learning on me in that context.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I find that when we're going through the moment of starting a business or starting a journey as an athlete, we don't want to think about some of the challenges that are going to come up along the way. We just want to, and then what I'm trying to say, Gareth, is that you've made the decision to do a race, but you don't know the results of the race until you do it. And I know it sounds so cliche, but you're like, okay, I guess I got to do it to learn from it. And then once you do it, you learn from it. And then you're like, oh man, if I would have done this differently, I could perform better next time. But you have to take the risk to make the decision to say, I'm going to do it. Often, many of us are reluctant to make the decision. Once we make it, we're locked in. It's like, okay, I'm now going to go after it. That's where the vulnerability, steps up, right? As achieving those goals. So we're talking solo goals, going at it alone. I'm going to wrap up our conversation before we move into our next one this morning with Gareth Riordan joining us from Friday.ai Gold Coast. We're going to talk cutting sugar out of your diet using AI. But to wrap up our comments with this here today, Nation, I would encourage you, if you're going to go at it alone, if you're going to go at it alone, you're not. Think about that support network around you. Prioritize those tasks and time blocking. Think about flex goals instead of smart goals. Think about using AI in your life to use effective time management. Using AI ensures you're not going at it alone. I love what Gareth said a few moments ago, that when he's planning his schedule, he's telling AI, hey, listen, I'm going to get sick a couple times along the way. Acknowledge that. Help me understand that when I get sick, what's going to change, right? And then along the way, in your independent process of achieving that goal independently, it's important you evaluate your progress along the way, right? And then adjust those strategies along the way. Pull the levers. Gareth and I talked about flex goals. I'm going to the Tour de France in 3 months from now. That's my goal, right? And then to get there, I got to pull levers. I got to get more sleep, less sleep, got to eat better. Oh, my kids got sick, got to pull lever, right? It's so constantly evaluating and then adjusting those strategies. And then, as Gareth said, developing that growth mindset. Think about growing, as you said, Gareth, not thinking about the end, right? I know that when you're on your bike, I think I've gotten to know you well enough that when you're on your bike, you're not thinking about the end of the finish line. You are thoroughly enjoying that whole journey along the way, recognizing that every lever you pull along the way is going to get you to that finish line, right? It's growing along the way, isn't it, Gareth? It's not start and then end. That's why I call growing, right? It's growing down, up. It's like a line graph, right? So, but we struggle to embrace growth. We struggle to embrace that growth mindset, Gareth. Talk about that as an athlete, business person, where we, understanding the effort that leads to improvement and that failures are part of that growth process.
Yeah, it's also because the word failure as kids, it's such a scary, bad word.
Yes.
Like it evokes this human response, like, you're a failure. That's bad. Like it's like encoded in our brains, and we don't we hear that, we pull away, whereas actually your biggest lessons come from when you fail the most. So
Yes.
if you lean into it, I think in my career, and even like I even reflect, Friday, end of last year, we made some big missteps. We tripped over. We had a couple of failures, but we leaned into it. We looked at it. We had retrospectives around it. What went wrong? How do we go? How do we move forward on it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how you grow. Like you just. It's kind of like when you get feedback, and it's really nice to hear you doing a good job and getting positive feedback. You're like, I'll keep doing that stuff, but how am I going to grow and develop if I don't know what I can improve on? And it always
Yes.
frustrated me when people are like, "Oh, there's nothing you're doing that's bad. It's all good." I'm like, "Stop. We're not finishing this conversation until you give me some things that I haven't done as well, because I need your help. I need
Yes.
that helped me." And people are like, "Oh, okay." And then very slowly they'll tell you where things aren't working, and that's always what I've found is I grow the most.
I need your help. The most powerful words we can use as a human being to another human being, yet the most vulnerable, scary, least words statement we use as human beings. Why is that?
Yeah, I've this is something I lean into heaps, because it's this polar opposite. So
Mhm.
saying it, you barely ever say it because you're so vulnerable. But when someone asks you for help, you instantly, it
Right.
feels great. Like you're like, okay, what can I do?
Yes.
How can I help? But we
Yes.
don't ask. It's the weirdest.
Yes.
I've looked at this. I find it the weirdest pattern of human behavior where, and I'm like probably one of the worst people in the world to ask for help. I'm like, I mumble it and then I stumble the words and I'll eventually get it out. I constantly have to push myself to ask for help and say I might be struggling or I need help with this. But as soon as you say it, it unlocks a completely different experience with another human. Like, great. Even if they're like, oh, I might not be able to help you, but somehow I've got to help you. So I'll connect you with this person or try this. You'd be surprised how many people trip over themselves when you ask for help for them actually wanting to help you. You just got to be willing to say it.
Yes. Yes. It is. And it's such a powerful statement, so rarely used, such a connector of humans. And, perhaps one of the goals we keep working on here in the Lab Nation is not only to help us with our accountability, but it's to help us with languaging. Maybe we got to stop using words like failure and keep using words like learning, right? Maybe we stop using words like and focus on learning and focus on asking for help and giving us all permission to not worry about asking for help. Because man, you want to connect with a human, that's magic. Gareth, I need your help. Gareth's like, oh, really?
Yeah, that's what you said today. You're like,
Yes, you're
I need
right.
your help. I was
You're
like,
right. You're right. I reached out. Thank you. You're right. I said, hey, do you want to jump in? And you're helping me today. And you're like, oh, I'm grateful for this opportunity, right? And I'm leaning. So it's funny. Oh my, I'm really glad we're talking about this because I'm leaning into I'm standing over the other side as well, sending you a text yesterday, going, okay, it's late at night in Gareth's world. Am I being a pain in the ass? But maybe he'll want to come in and join in. So I'm like, okay, would you mind jumping in? And I didn't frame the word as help. But that's exactly what I needed because I'm like, I don't want to sit here by myself for the whole show. And you're like, yeah, I'll jump in. Right. So, and then you're thinking of, wow, that feels pretty good that Keith reached out to me. Right now, we're having a human conversation and a connection that we wouldn't have had I not been vulnerable enough to say, would you help me? Powerful, powerful. So, Nation, Keith and Gareth today, if we're going to give you something to think about as you're starting your day here in North America, or to my friends in Australia and Southern Hemisphere waking up tomorrow morning, don't hesitate to ask somebody for help because magic will happen and it's happening in front of your eyes this morning. Keith and Gareth joining us. Mornings in the Lab. Keith and friends. Gareth Ryden joining us from the Gold Coast in Australia. We're going to pivot our conversation to our next topic. It's like, because I got to get Gareth to bed here at some point here. I'm keeping him up here quite late at night here, and we're going to get into the far, far future if we keep talking here. But we're going to get into our second topic here, Jimmy. And the second topic is very much right at Gareth's heart. He's got a company called Friday.ai. They weave AI into businesses, humans, helping you make decisions, weaving AI into life. So we're going to talk now about how we, and Gareth can do some demos with us today here in a few moments, but how we can use AI to cut, reduce, minimize, just get rid of sugar. Sugar, the battler that we all wake up trying to battle. Sugar, 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 sugar. So how can we use sugar to cut AI out of our life? I'm sorry. How can we use AI to cut sugar out of our life to help us move forward and boost weight loss, boost moods, move forward from there? So, Gareth, let's dig into it. Let's understand the impact of sugar. Excessive sugar intake, we know it. Type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease. It spikes insulin, fat storage. There's actually nothing good about sugar, even though all of us humans freaking love sugar. Let's talk about how we're going to use AI to reduce sugar, Gareth.
And it tastes good. Like you said, we freaking love it.
Yes.
I was thinking about this when I saw the title of the show. So the big challenge I see is it's in everything. Like, it's so hard. Like, I think day-to-day decision making, how do I know where it is and where sugar's showing up?
Yes.
So what I do already, I take ChatGPT with me when I go grocery shopping, because I've got it on my phone. I use the app. I take photos when I'm grocery shopping because I like to get meal ideas on the fly when I'm in the aisle. So I'll get 2 random products and I take a photo. I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, what great recipe could I make with this? If you add an extra level in that as well, when you're going shopping, if you've got ChatGPT on your phone, I'd highly download it. The free version, you can do a ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The latest version, you can take photos directly in the app itself and then ask about it. So if you take a photo of a product, something you really, really like, ask AI, how much, like, this is who I am, I'm this age, I've got this weight loss goal, I'm trying to cut sugar. Is this a good product to have with my goal?
Brilliant.
And then it might say, it might not be good, but then what you can go further is say, well, I like the flavor, I like this taste, I have this for lunch or dinner. Can you suggest something else that is sort of the same flavor that might be a replacement that has a lower amount of sugar? And you could then ask it, search the internet, or I don't know what your supermarkets are where you are, but Woolworths and Coles. So you might say, I'm currently in a Coles supermarket. Search their product range. Help me find another product because I'm in the store now.
Cool.
So that sort of in the moment stuff can really help.
That's exceptional. So essentially, you're carrying around like a little genius in your pocket. That's like, yeah, tell me about this product. Tell me about this product. Now, a contrarian would say, but Gareth, I don't got time to be pulling out my phone, taking pictures of everything, asking myself whether the sugar is too high, too low. What are you saying to that person who's belly aching and complaining about, Gareth, really? I don't want to have the ChatGPT agent read all my labels.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's going to be hard to pull out your phone when you're shopping and you don't want to invest that time, but maybe it's more help it plan more for you rather than in the moment you're in the shopping center, you're at home. Say Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, we do our grocery shopping. Ask for help to build your shopping list. Write me a shopping list that aligns with my goals around cutting sugar out of my diet. So typing it in to say, my goal is I want to reduce my sugar intake. But I love, and you can even put this in the prompt, but I love the sugary taste of food. I love it. Put that in, give the AI context, because the more you give it context, the better it can respond.
Yes.
And then say to it, given what you know about me, I do love sugary, tasty, sweet foods, but I want to cut down my sugar. Help me write my shopping list for this week that can buy me the products in store. So when I go there, and tell it what grocery store you're going to go to. Say, give me the specific products at this grocery store, write my list, and I want enough groceries for 6 dinners, 5 lunches, 4 breakfasts. And it can start spitting out your list. So then instead of you writing your normal list, AI's done the work for you. It's pivoted your list. It's written it for you. It's done all the hard work. So all you got to do, instead of pulling out your phone in the supermarket, you're just wandering around picking the stuff it's telling you off the shelves.
I think anybody complaining, Gareth, to you or me about, I don't want to use AI to track my sugar. Well, then I don't think you want to achieve your goals bad enough. Because the alternative is, well, then go, okay, I'll give you tough love. Then go do it yourself and see how you make out. So what we're saying is there's a tool now that will help you, whether you want to use it. Hey, do you want to bang a nail with a hammer? Or do you want to try to use your hand? I want the hammer. Okay. Right. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to the store. You can either guess whether you want to put sugar in your diet, or you can have this AI agent that's only getting smarter. Like, let's think about the, this new hidden success that Meta has discovered with the Ray-Ban glasses. Oh, I can look around. I can see products. I can see, like, those are the killer apps, Gareth. When we're wearing spatial computing devices that can see products and give us information instantly, when we're not having to pull the phone out and create perhaps an obstacle. That to me is when the power happens. It becomes very natural, right? But I love that you use the word context. I don't find enough people think about context when they're talking with AI. And the example you gave was, okay, well, I don't want to eat sugar, but there might be some things that I do enjoy the taste of sugar. So you give the AI that I do enjoy the taste of sugar, give me other choices. It might suggest, well, then try this guava sweetener, right? So you, as somebody who's trying to achieve a goal, might not know there's other sweeteners on the market that can help you achieve those goals that AI can help you with.
100%. And the way I look at that is, you've got access to infinite expertise at your fingertips, but it's the question, it's not the answers that you have to worry about anymore. It's the questions you ask. So that's a great one. Like, I like that taste. And then try some of the products, give it feedback. Like the next week saying, oh, I tried that sort of guava juice. It tasted terrible. Have another go. Give me another alternative. Don't think you have to stop there and go, it didn't work. Give the feedback. Share your experience. Provide feedback on the shopping list. How did it go? I actually ended up having I had real low energy over the week. Was that cutting out too much sugar, or the alternatives didn't work for me? It'll dutifully go, okay, great. Thanks for the feedback. Here's another option for you. So I think that's also one thing we try and encourage people is don't get stuck and just go, I've got the answer and I run with it. Give it feedback, work with it.
Is it as simple, Gareth, to somebody listening right now who's saying, Keith, Gareth, are you just saying literally pull your phone out and snap a picture of anything I eat and start creating a conversation around that topic so that the AI knows what I'm eating, can have a conversation about it? So are you suggesting, or are we suggesting, inviting our audience to introduce a new habit to their day? Keep that phone next to you. Start taking pictures of the food you're putting, maybe going to a restaurant. Like, is that what you're suggesting, Gareth, that at the end of the day, this tool in your pocket can create this level of awareness that you're not even thinking about? Because I know I know for a fact there's people listening to you and I right now going, I didn't even think about using my phone to take a picture of my meal today, or take a picture of my lunch, or pictures of my pantry to help me reduce sugar from my diet. But that's ultimately what you're saying, isn't it, Gareth? Just use your camera, take a picture, and understand it. Are you making it that simple, Gareth?
Yeah, and ask for help. Like, back to your point, help me on the and think of it like you said, you got that companion there. Ask it to help you along your journey of cutting out sugar. So it's not as in, okay, on Monday I'm going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to ask it, and then sugar's cut out. Actually, I'm going to take ChatGPT or Claude, equally good model, along with me on this journey. I'm going to ask it. It's going to come along with me, and I can share a funny story about taking pictures of food. Is my wife and I were at a wedding, beautiful wedding, and they had that sort of like shared foods, all along the table. And my wife's like hammering this one meal. She's like, "Oh, that meal's I love this dish," and it was half eaten in the middle of the table. And so I thought I might surprise my wife. So I took a photo of it. Was a half-eaten sort of meal in this bowl, and what it was lamb shanks and like a really nice mash and veggies.
Yes.
But ChatGPT identified what the meal was, gave me the ingredients, gave me the recipe, and the next week I surprised my wife. I made her that dinner, and she was like, this was like what we had at the wedding. Like it even picked up the individual seasoning, sauce, and this was
Really?
halfway through the meal. So you got people around that like tucking in, scooping it out, chucking it on their plates. So it's and it's not that I had to do a lot with it. I just took a photo and I said, "What's in this? My wife loves it. I want to cook it for her." And it said, "Oh, what I can see in this photo is, I think it looks like a lamb shank, blah blah." And I go, "Give me the recipe and the ingredients," and then I
Hmm.
had it good to go. So same thing with sugar as well. Is that, get the help in those moments. The more you can, what I think about is, how do you get curious and then
Yes.
start thinking about ways it can help you. As soon as
Yes.
you get that curiosity, you're like, I wonder if I could use it right now. And then this sugar, cutting sugar journey, fantastic space for it. I wonder how AI can help me cut sugar.
Gareth, you are wonderful at offering nuggets, as I said a few moments ago, to the lab. And I think in a roundabout way, we are creating a nugget to offer Nation. Business Athlete Nation, you're sitting down at your meal right now and you're taking a picture to put it onto the gram because you're like, oh yeah, I'm proud of my meal I'm reading right now. Listen, a whole generation for the last 10 years have taken pictures of our meals to show off what we're eating. What Keith and Gareth are suggesting, you're already going through the process of taking a picture of your meal. What Gareth is saying, take the second picture or take that same picture and upload it into GPT or Claude and have a conversation. And that content that you've created for your gram or for your social media page is now going to become a very valuable piece of content that you can use for yourself. You're already taking the picture, Nation. You're already taking the picture to create FOMO for everybody else. Oh, look at the nice meal that I'm eating. Oh, yeah? Take a picture, throw it into GPT, and acknowledge what you're now eating within that meal. So nobody should say to Keith or Gareth, I don't have time to take a picture of my meal. No, you're already taking it. Right? They're already taking it. So you do you take pictures of all your meals? I know when we met last time, like you have fully embraced AI, and I watch your content. You use Otter AI to use these agents to make your life more productive, more full, and so forth, and move forward. Have you created a habit for yourself where every single meal, food you take a picture of, and you're tracking everything? Are you that specific, Gareth?
Probably not that detailed now to every meal. What I did early on was I started to take pictures of individual meals,
Yeah.
and then I started to pull them all together, and that's how I asked ChatGPT to build me a nutrition plan to go with my training program. Because I don't want to eat stuff that I don't like, but I need to eat stuff that nourishes me for my training as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
early on, that really helped me get started, and it's built, and we've got almost a bit of a workflow. Like on a Sunday night, because of taking picture of those meals, ChatGPT knows what we like to eat,
Yeah.
what's good for us. So when we get to a Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, what my wife does, she takes a picture of the inside of the fridge, and ChatGPT writes our shopping list for us.
Love it. Love it. I love it. That's a soundbite right there. Again, Nation, y'all have the tools on your phone. Y'all got a fridge in your house. There is an absolute expert sitting in your phone right now. Jory Jansen, love you, my nutritionist friend, but there's a nutritionist in your phone that will take a picture of your fridge or your pantry and tell you what you can eat.
It's super good. It's really good for like if you ever get stuck.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what am I going to cook myself? It comes up with amazing meal ideas.
And then I imagine what you can do, Gareth, is you can take a picture and say, as you know, ChatGPT, I'm on a journey of reducing sugar in my diet. So using that knowledge, that context, as you so eloquently state, GPT, using the context of what you know about my journey, provide me some meals with reduced sugar. That's essentially what you're saying, aren't you, Gareth?
Yeah, absolutely.
No different than sitting down. And again, I don't want to dismiss our human experts because we love our humans, but every human now has a nutritionist in their pocket, a professional nutritionist in their pocket. And yes, AI hallucinates and the media loves it, Gareth, to talk about all the hallucinations that AI make. But you know what? I don't know about you. I use AI for so many of my things. So out of 1,000 questions, okay, 0.5% it gets it wrong. Like, come on. Most of the time, it's getting it right. You know what I'm saying? Do you agree with me?
And it's great for ideas,
Yes.
because ideas are jumping off points. Ideas can be crazy and absolutely out there. If they help give you inspiration,
Yes.
it's worth it. But then it is important. Like, I think there's value in bringing the human element into, and this is where it's like, you're not just saying over there, just do all my stuff for me, but work with me, help me create inspiration, help me create recipes, but you're involved in that process.
Yes.
So by
Yes.
being involved in the process, you start to naturally check, you start to review, critique, and you are managing the risk around hallucinations, because you're looking at it and going, well, that doesn't seem quite
Yes.
right.
Yes.
But if you just Control C, Control V, would never advocate for that. But if you go type in a prompt, see what it's like, give some feedback, oh, I'll add my touches on here, I'll contribute to that. And I do believe, like, the great humans, these tools in that, I love these tools, like, in the hands of artisans as well. Like, we think about Hemingway. Everyone, a lot of people had a typewriter back in his day, but not everyone could write like Hemingway. So just the sort of same here. And I know some great dietitians and nutritionists, and they are doing incredible things with AI. So it helps me get along the journey, but then you have the artisans taking it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's exceptional. Wrapping up our conversation with Gareth Riordan, talking about cutting sugar for weight loss and getting it using the tool in your pocket, using that camera, that expert in your pocket that will help you reduce sugar or make better choices at the restaurant, make better choices in a store. But Gareth, I think, the simple golden nugget for everybody listening right now is to get comfortable acknowledging that you have a super tool in your pocket. If you're trying to battle sugar, listen, there's a lot. We both know, Gareth, there's a lot of things that have to go into beating sugar. I had a crappy day yesterday. What did I go look for? So it doesn't matter how often I take a picture of that item. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm taking a picture of that donut. I know it's got sugar in it, but I'm feeling crappy right now. I'm crushing the donut, right? So, but the point is we have the tools, right? So use those tools to help you on your journey. And if there's anything that I know Gareth stands for and I'm standing for, is that we all like to find excuses. We all do, Gareth, right? We're always looking for an excuse. But what I'm offering up, and with what my friend Garrett's offering up, is we have a tool in our pocket that will help us maybe acknowledge that excuse, create awareness around the excuse, and then whether we want to make the decision around it, but at least the knowledge is there. And we both know that knowledge is only going to become greater and greater and greater as time goes on. So if we can adopt these habits earlier, the better we're going to be along the way. Agreed?
Yep, 100%.
It's exceptional. Gareth, it looks like we're coming to the end of the show, man. You got to go to bed. I got to get to work. I guess I got to get the rest of my day. I got a business to build here. So, dude, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that you took some time out of your day, a lot of time, 80 some odd minutes to sit with me this morning, be my co-host, join me for conversation around goal setting, join me for conversation around cutting sugar out of the diet using AI tools. Was there anything we missed, Gareth, from our conversation today you wanted to make sure we touched upon? Or was there anything in the AI conversation you wanted to make sure we touched upon before we work towards wrapping up our conversation this morning? And was there anything from Frye.ai that you're working on that you want Business Athlete Nation to know about? Because I'm going to say this to you right now publicly to the world. This is not your last visit here, my friend. No. I'm hoping that we're going to do much more of these. I love the knowledge you provide. I love these sound bites. I don't know if I've met anybody in my path so far, other than myself, that is extensively using AI tools in everything that you do. Because you get it. I love your clips on Otter, big fan as well. People just don't get it, man. Like, I just sit back at every meeting conversation. These things I dump it into Otter. And then at the end of the week, I go back and reflect upon my conversations and I pull content out of it. Like Nation, there's tricks and tips. If you don't know what Otter.ai is, you got to come find me and Gareth on LinkedIn and we'll tell you all about it. Go find Gareth, man. Otter will change your life. Just talk to it.
Yep, absolutely. Your assistant in your pocket.
It's exactly.
Brilliant.
But Gareth, what some final words from you, my friend? How do we want to wrap it up today, my co-hosts from Down Under?
So 2 things, like we think about AI. If there were 2 things you'd do after this conversation is, firstly, get curious. Just genuinely get curious about it, and then start to sort of set yourself some challenges of where it might help. Just push yourself off to early in the conversation. Get curious, start experimenting. You're only going to learn a tool that's only going to become more and more important in your lives. You start doing that now, you're getting a head start.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Gareth from Frye.ai, liberating your time. Do not ever come to me in this lab saying I don't have time. Don't ever come to my friend Gareth and say I have no time. Please don't ever say that to any of us, because we have these magical tools in our pocket now that will save us time. It will give you an extra 30. So never say to me, I don't have time to work out, Keith. I don't have time to reduce sugar from my diet, Keith. I don't have time to independently achieve my goals, Keith. No, you do. You just got to pause and learn and and I love it, Gareth, be curious. All right, we're going to get out of here. I'm going to ask Gareth to step out into the green room for a quick second. I am going to walk you guys out of the lab. Maybe we'll check on C. Marty. Maybe we should actually. I would have phoned him this morning, but I know that he's on an airplane getting himself back to Maryland today. So we're going to walk Gareth out. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. So Gareth, I'm going to move you back to the green room over there on the vertical. Jimmy, we're going to move him back to the green room over on the horizontal. We got him there, and I'm going to turn the music up a little bit. And I am going to say goodbye. So tomorrow morning, nation, John Anderson is joining myself and C. Marty Fit. John Anderson, one of the world's strongest men. Nation, he's huge. Just tune in tomorrow to see how big the guy is. The guy's massive. Massive, world's strongest man, wrestler, strong human, fitness dude. Most importantly, the guy has lived a life of daily habits. Every single day, consistently building habits. And I know, nation, we've created this show to help us be accountable, to help us achieve big goals, to help us achieve daily consistent habits. So tomorrow's topic, tomorrow's conversation is going to be much about that. It's going to be about how to achieve those habits. It's about using tools like AI to achieve those habits. I know some of the topics I'm talking with John tomorrow is what we can eat, what we can't eat. Well, John might say, eat this. And you might say, well, I don't know. Well, hey, Gareth's going to say, pull your camera and take a picture of it. Help yourself move forward. It's got a message from Marty. Marty just landed. Marty's on the long trip home back to Maryland. Usually it's a few hours. Marty's now in Ottawa. He's like, how was the show? I should call him, bring him in here. But anyways, tomorrow morning, John Anderson coming into the show. You know where to find us every single day, Monday to Friday, live in the lab. Mornings in the lab with Keith C. Marty Fit. Our purpose, our mission, nation, to help you and help you get your day started, get your day moving, hold yourself accountable, achieve those big, hairy, audacious goals, and learn a few things along the way. Remember, subscribe to our channel, wherever that button is. Hit subscribe, like the content if you like what we're putting out there, and tell your friends. Come find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all over the place. I'm going to get out of here, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Keith's out of here.